Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jai Gurudeva Jai Gurudeva Jai Gurudeva Jai Gurudeva Pranam Sankirtana. Hare Krishna devotees. Welcome to ISKCON Seshadripuram daily Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. Hare Krishna devotees. Could you see the screen? Someone could tell me. Hare Krishna. Is the screen visible? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, it's visible.
Thank you. So today's verses, third canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 31st chapter, 22 and 21. So we will read both the slokas and then we will get into the verse. Welcome to Bhagavatam class from ISKCON Seshadripuram. कपिलोवाच एवं कृतमतिर्गर्भे दशमास्य स्तुवन् ऋषिः तदया शिपति अवचीनम् अवाचीनम् प्रसुत्याय श्रुति मारुतः कपिलोवाच Lord Kapila said, Evam, thus, Kritamatihi, desiring, Garbhe, in the womb, Dasamasaha, 10 months old, Twan, extolling, Rishihi, the living entity, Sadhyaha, at that very time, Chipati, propels, Avachinam, turned downward, Prasutyayi, for birth, Suti Marutaha, the wind for childbirth. Translation by His Divine Grace, U.K.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Lord Kapila continued, the 10-month-old living entity has these desires even while in the womb. But while he thus extols the Lord, the wind that helps Patrician propels him forth with his face turned downward so that he may be born. The next verse for today's discussion, 23rd verse. तेनावसृष्टतः सहसा कृत्वा वक्षिर आतुरः विनिष्क्रमाति कृच्छ्रेण निरुच्छ्वासो हतस्मृतिः. Tena means Tena, by that wind. Avasrataha, pushed downward. Sahasa, suddenly. Krutva, turned. Avak, downward. Chiraha, his head. Aturaha, suffering. Viniskramati, he comes out. Pritsrena, with great trouble. Nirichvashaha, breathless. Hata, deprived, deprived of. Smritihi, memory. Translation. Pushed downward all of a sudden by the wind, the child comes out with great trouble, head downward, breathless and deprived of memory due to severe agony. Purport. The word Krichrena means with great difficulty. When the child comes out of the abdomen through the narrow passage, due to pressure there, the breathing system completely stops. And due to agony, the child loses his memory. Sometimes the trouble is so severe that the child comes out dead or almost dead. One can imagine what the pangs of birth are like. The child remains for 10 months in that horrible condition within the abdomen, and at the end of 10 months he is forcibly pushed out. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord points out that a person the person who is serious about advancement in spiritual consciousness should always consider the four pangs of birth, death, disease, and old age. The materialist advances in many ways, but he is unable to stop these four principles of suffering inherent in material existence. ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपादकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवां च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहन रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहन ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे Hare Krishna devotees, once again welcome. And this 22nd and 23rd verse, before getting into these verses, let us understand the background where we are now in the flow of Srimad Bhagavatam. The third canto is status quo. The meaning of status quo could be understood like this. Say government passed some amendments and now the government is coming and checking all the amendments are in place or not, like a feedback kind of thing. So same way this status quo also like that. Already it is being primary and secondary creations we have discussed in the first two cantos, and now it is a just verification like that. This third canto, and this third canto could be understood in four divisions. In the first division, meeting of Uddhava and Vidura. Second division is Sarga Visarga. Third division is pastimes of Lord Varaha. Fourth division is appearance and teachings of Lord Kapila. So this fourth division is our subject matter. Appearance and teachings of Lord Kapila starts from 21st chapter to 23rd chapter, and the thread for this particular chapter started from this topic started from 25th chapter to 23rd chapter, teachings of Lord Kapila to Devavati. After Kardama left, Kapila stayed with mother. She inquired from him. So this is a thread, and the previous chapter is that is 30. Description by Lord Kapila of adverse fruitive activities. And the next chapter is entanglement in fruitive activities that are, it means, the path of karma. So these all are out of scope for today's discussion. And today's discussion is chapter 31, Lord Kapila's instruction on the movements of the living entities. So this is the chapter, and where the another thread to subject matter is in the there are so many questions. In the eighth question, third canto, 29th chapter, second verse, the question started. Describe samsara of jivas, right? So the samsara of jivas, what is meant by samsara in this context here? The samsara means the repeated birth and death one who gets. Punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam. So the one who is taking birth again and again and again in this, you know, birth as well as in the next birth in any planet is concerned. So that is the point here from Mother Devati. She asked, please describe samsara of jiva from 29th chapter and second sloka, and the continuity from there. This constitutional change of bodies in birth and death is called samsara. So the actual meaning of the samsara is the continual change of bodies in birth and death is called samsara. Here it is mentioned, and the answer for this, it is being narrated from 30th chapter to 32nd chapter. So the 30th chapter already we have discussed, and then what it is, and then 32nd chapter also out of our discussion. 31st chapter, the pains in the womb at birth as infant, and as child, also prayers of Jiva within the womb. So, which deals about this. I am repeating the pains in the womb at birth as an infant and as a child. Also prayers of Jiva within womb. So this is our subject matter. And then today's chapter, as we discussed, Lord Kapila's instruction on the movements of the living entities, and suffering of jiva after comes out of the womb. So this chapter is could be again further divided into four divisions. The other two divisions are out of our other three divisions, and the third division is today's discussion. That is suffering of the jiva after he comes out of the womb. Exactly, this verse 22nd and 23 starts with suffering of the jiva after he comes out of the womb. How the jiva comes out of the womb, and later after coming out of the womb, what are the sufferings like that? The subject matter for today. And the 22nd sloka here, translation starts with this. Now we will get into the verse, the 22nd verse. Lord Kapila continued. So, what is the meaning of Lord Kapila continued here? That means earlier he discussed something. What was his discussion earlier? So, Lord Kapila discussed about the arrangement of Lord's uh, internal potency and external potency, and how bad, how we all are suffering in the hell, right? Not only how we are suffering in the hell, and also how the hellish experience on earth. So until we are in the bodily platform, here Lord Kapila, previous chapters he explained, these all are compared with hellish experience. So it is not padanga, padanga, vipadanga. So in this Kali Yuga, every step is danger. So that is the hellish experience on the earth. So in that context, Lord Kapila continued here. Prabhupada mentioned in the translation. The 10 months old living entity has three desires. Sorry, these desires even while in the womb. So the child, when the child is in the womb, so we know other pastimes of how long Sukadeva Goswami stayed in the mother's womb, right? 14 years, right? We cannot imagine in Kali Yuga, so even not even more than the stipulated period or something. So where is the question of 14 years? The mother, finding so difficult, she started praying the Lord, and of course, it is Lord's arrangement and Lord knows. But even though Sukadeva Goswami is not ready to come out of the womb because he knows how strong this material, this Maya is, and when the pure devotees, when they are in the womb, they started praying, to the Lord. This is the evidence. Then the moment he comes out of this womb, then with so much of difficulties, we will discuss further. And then with so much of difficulties, Sukadeva Goswami came out of the womb. Then she prayed to the Lord, oh Lord, and also his father started, praying also. Please, 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 please don't, disturb. What to say? Please don't, disturb my wife by like this, like that, and all. He was so attached to his wife, and then started asking. So everything is Lord's arrangement. He himself, none other than the Lord. And then finally he came out of the womb, and Lord gives only for the pure devotees, right? So that's what here it is. Extols the Lord. That means how many of us will remember after coming out of the womb of the mother with so much of difficulty? How many of us will surrender to the Lord like Sukadeva Goswami here? Sukadeva Goswami, how great he is. He is away from the samsara sagara. What is the example for that? Once he was walking on the river bank. We know Sukadeva Goswami came out after 14 years. He was not wearing any dress or anything. He does not have any bodily. What it means, he does not have any small stinge of bodily conception of life. And Then immediately his father also followed. Oh, my dear son, why are you going like that? So he was following his son. Then he was going, the pass by that river bank, and there were some Matajis, ladies are taking bath there without any dress. When Sukadeva Goswami was passing, these Matajis does not have any a stinge of awkward, mindset. So they are so comfortable when he was going. They are without any dress like that. And the moment his father comes, immediately they were hiding their body and this thing. So it doesn't mean that he is not elevated or he is like that. As a grasta, he knows what is this and what is that. But Sukadeva Goswami, he is above all this, sex life and etc. All these things. So there is no even a stinge of bodily conception of life. So what is the point here? So this material world is how dangerous it is and how difficult it is. We can take it as a take-home message from Sukadeva Goswami's, you know, pastime. So in that way, so how difficult this child is facing, sitting in the womb. I mean, for how many months? Around 10 months. In lunar calendar, they say this is the duration, or some says these many days the baby should struggle inside the womb. Then there is no guarantee that whether that baby will come out from the womb alive or not. There are so many challenges. That is the point here, and also how to come out of this samsara saga. That is the point here. Right? We are here. We are discussing how difficult the birth is all about. So we all know in the next verse it is mentioned that Prabhupada mentioned that here it's very horrible condition within abdomen. At the end of 10 months, he is forcibly pushed out. Bhagavad Gita, the Lord points out the person who is serious about advancement in spiritual consciousness should always consider the four pangs of birth, death. So here we are discussing about this birth. Obviously, there is a problem with death. Obviously, there is a problem with disease. Obviously, there is a problem with old age. So there is no exceptional birth to death, old age, and disease. We have to struggle with this. So what is the point here is how to go out of this repeated birth and death. So here, a couple of some pastimes from Pandharpur. I'd like to share one of the pastimes from Pandharpur. We all know there is a very hardcore, very staunch devotee, a name called Chokamela. So we all know Chokamela is a materially thinking. He was born as a Sudra kind of, family background or something, so-called Sudra background. Everybody do kirtan and everybody do dance, but particular devotee Chokamela, when he started doing kirtan, started singing bhajans of Lord Vitala, this entire audience and the entire devotees so mesmerized by seeing, how this devotee could exhibit this kind of devotion like that. They all so astonished everything. Then he attempted to get into the temple along with his wife. Those days there was a, you know, some austerity. Oh, you are by birth identity, you are so and so, so you cannot get into the temple like that. They refused him to get into. Then with so a heart, so he went back to his house, and then he and his wife thinking that always about Vittala Vittala, always they are chanting about the Lord, and always meditating about the Lord, and always no other thought process other than thinking of the Lord. They both were leading a very idle grasta and Brahmati like that. Then after seeing their suffering, they were praying, "Oh God, why we could not have your darshan? Have we not qualified, or why?" Like he was having that. Then all of a sudden, a Lord appeared with them, and then Lord, immediately she offered some naivedya, whatever they have prepared on that day. Then they offered to the Lord, and then they also took, prasada. Lord also accepted their pure love and affection. Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyum, you may Bhaktya praise. So with this particular devotees family, bhakti is unlimited. So they Lord also took honored. Lord also accepted their offering, and then Lord took him to his sanctum, or his garbhagraha. So he took him, and then they started speaking each other like that. Each and everyone started. Between the conversation between the Lord, then he asked, Chokamela asked, what was delighted by God's explanation, and asked him a question for the welfare of mankind. Oh Lord, how should your devotees lead their lives to attain moksha, like that? So your devotees even beyond moksha are your prema, like that. Uh, then Panduranga, Lord Panduranga answered a smile, on his face. Choka, three aspects have to be followed by my devotees in Kali Yuga. Lord gave these three instructions to pure devotee called Chokamela. He said chanting. Number one is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. They should chant name of God incessantly when when yugas and when yajna and other performance when they were doing. Then chanting with which the same result in Kaliyuga, Kalo Nama Sankirtanam. So this is what mentioned in the Shastra. So what uh, Lord Panduranga said, first instruction to Chokamela is chanting. So Nama Sankirtana. So in Kaliyuga, devotee means one should follow chanting. Here Chokamela is the perfect example. Always he is standing in front of the Lord, and in front of the temple, Pandharpur temple, and he started glorifying and chanting the Lord. And then the next instruction by the Lord Vikala, here it is, good behavior. A devotee should practice good principles like ahimsa, pity, patience, control over sense organs, and life of celibacy. So this is the example, or second explanation Lord given to Chokamela, devotee Chokamela here. So that good behavior means how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned, this his mood, how one should be tolerant, and how one should be, Pranadapi Suvichena, Karorapi Saishvanam. So such a behavior one should exhibit like that. We can take it the second point. And then the third point Lord gives here. So what were these 3 points? How to come out of this samsara saga. The third point Lord gives the company of good people. That means association of the pure devotee. So what is the meaning of this? Sadhu sangha, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi good. So when we have association with pure devotees like Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and all our senior devotees, then naturally one should move always in the company of good people who always spend their time in the presence of God. All yaro dekho. So whomever you meet and wherever you meet, uh, bolo Krishna Upadesha. We speak about the Lord. To be acquainted with such people itself is a difficult. In Kali Yuga, how many of us, whenever we meet our friends, are we speaking all the time about the Lord? Big question mark. So this from, and then these three instructions Lord given. So whenever we get opportunity to meet any saintly person, or the pure devotees like Chokamela got opportunity to have association with the Lord, directly they have asked, or they surrendered. This shows the surrender. So three aspects Lord instructed to Chokamela about this. After hearing that, he was very blissful, and then he came and shared with his wife and etc. Then in their life, you know, going on well, and one day Lord having took him to Pandharpur temple, and then when the doors were closed, the temple priests were not allowing him to get into the inside the Garbhagriha. And then even today, this is the speciality, how the Lord is merciful. In very few temples, a devotees or a common people could get into. Whoever enters into the temple considered to be a devotee, no doubt about it. And who could go into the Garbhagriha and worship the Lord by touching physically. Very few temples in this planet we can say. Among that very few temples, Pandharpur temple is one among such a temples. And what is the take-home message from this pastime is then Chokamela started worshipping, started conversing with the Lord. Then the temple, very next day, the temple pujari came there. He started hearing, the sound between, there is some noise going on inside like that. Then they opened the door and saw that he is in the, conversation mood with the Lord. But these pujaris could not see the Lord and they could not realize. Then they chased him away from the temple and then they sent him away and they village panchayat and they put a punishment to them. You should be away from this Chandrabag river like that. Then Chokamela started meditating in the other side of the river bank about the Lord. Lord pervaded everywhere, but everybody knows that. But still, people having that narrow mindset, birth identity, etc., like that. And still, in some part, it is happening or wrong perception or wrong understanding about Lord's message. And then still they are so heavy-heartedly. They were both husband and wife. They were thinking like that, and then when they were into some professional work, all of a sudden some wall collapsed. There are so many people died in that collapse, and in that Chokamela also left his body. Then Chokamela always, very close to the Lord. Then uh, Sant Namdev. So Sant Namdev also a very prominent devotee in the Parapara. Then the Lord said, to Sant Namdev, there is my devotee's, body which is lying outside, somewhere. So go and check. They buried in the meanwhile, burial is going on. So they buried about all the people, all the devotees, those who have, left their body in that incident. Then again, Sant Namdev coming and praying to the Lord, how to identify. There are so many dead bodies are there. How can I identify? Then Lord instructed him, Sant Namdev, to go and check each and every bone which they have burnt, and which bone chants my name. That person is Chokamela. Chokamela ki jai. So that is emphasized in Kali Yuga. One could realize the importance of chanting. Even that, what is the take home from this pastimes is, see, even that should be the mood of a devotee. That is the qualification of the devotee. So this chanting of Mahamantra, so how seriously we are taking is very, very important, and the Lord also will be pleased. In Kali Yuga, other process will not serve the purpose. We cannot cross over the subject matter today, cross over the samsara saga. How to cross over this birth and death? Only through chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then Sant Namdev searched all the bones and taking the bones and then keeping closer to the ears and then checking that. Then one particular bone, when he was moving closer to his ears, he was chanting Vittala, Vittala, Vittala like this. Then he realized, wow, very wonderful devotee like that. Then immediately Lord arranged you just put his samadhi in front of uh, uh, you know my residence, my temple, right where I am living, just opposite to that. Even today we can find a samadhi of Chokamela. Whenever we go to Pandharpur, we can relish this kind of pastimes. So how a devotee could come out of this samsara sagra, how the Lord Panduranga given the direct instruction to his devotee, these three conditions. What are the three conditions or what are the three suggestions to come out from this samsara saga? There is the repeated birth, death, old age, and this Lord instructed first chanting and then good behavior. That means, what you can say, humble and surrender nature, humility, right? And third one is company of good people, that is sadhu sangha. So without devotee association, one could not become a devotee. One could not progress to become a pure devotee. And then without exhibiting or without following the good behavior, one could not become a devotee. And most importantly, chanting of the glories of the Lord. So these are the very wonderful pastimes. One should keep it in mind to come to the stage of this, come out of this birth, death, old age. This is this change. And then secondly, we will discuss few points under what is the cycle of birth and death and how to stop it. Prabhupada gave so many examples on how to stop this cycle of birth. What is this cycle of birth and death and how to stop it? So Prabhupada gave in this purport, Bhagavad Gita 2.27, one has to take birth according to one's activities of life. Whatever the karma we execute in this life, then one has to take birth accordingly. So whatever it may be the birth, still out of 84 lakh species, whatever the birth one takes, even though that is not sufficient to purify ourselves. Because where is the point, without liberation or without coming out of this material contamination, where is the question of coming out of this samsara or samsara saga? This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessarily. So, but even though we may be saved from biggest danger, but still that cycle of birth and death is certain based on our karma. So that was the point here. It is Prabhupada, emphasizing. And then 49th verse, second chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada explains in his purport. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work, just to be further entangled in material bondage. So they think, oh, I am safe with this bank balance. Oh, I am safe with this my house. Oh, I am safe with this. I am safe with that. Oh, it is nice. Oh, my security is there. I have life insurance. I have this, that. So when until I finish all my responsibilities, my child is good, my wife is safe, all these things. This mood will not support for this come out of the cycle of birth and death. So one should spend all energies. How to stop it? One should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. So how to understand this point? Krishna emphasizes in Bhagavad Gita again, Ma Manusmara Yudhyacha. Think of me and execute your duties. So where we are thinking, always we are keeping, we centered. We never lead. We in the sense, I. So we are not keeping the God-centered life at our day-to-day activities, and we are not following like Chokamela, the three sections, chanting and then humility and then good association with the devotees. Like that. Then further, Prabhupada explains in the 21st Bhagavad Gita, third chapter. Yes, here Lord mentioned third chapter and then 18th, 21st. So here it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.21.18. So here it is mentioned in the purport. At the time of death, the mind carries one on the path of new life. So antakalecha medhiti. So whatever we think at the time of leaving the body, Lord sanctions without like that. So we should at least be qualified like Ajamila. Right? So are we having that mercy on us? Are we qualified? So still it is a question mark. Further Prabhupada gives on another verses. It is indicated herein that the cycle of birth and death cannot be stopped unless one is pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So how to become a devotee? Just now we have seen Chokabala. So one more pastimes also we can discuss in how to become. Here the point is how to stop this samsara saga, how to come out of this repeated birth and death, old age and disease. Here there is another pastime. So here it is mentioned, Prabhupada mentioned, death, the cycle of birth and death cannot be stopped unless one is a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So here there is a temple in Kanchipuram. The temple name is called Varadaraja Perumal temple. Right? Visiting deity is the Varadaraja Perumal, the one who gives the boom, sanctioning the boom. And in that temple, there is one prominent devotee who, serves the Lord every day by, fanning the Lord, chamara. Every day he goes to the temple and he finishes all his austerities and chanting, and then he started, uh, you know, uh, fanning the Lord every day. And then with the Lord's mercy, he has qualified, to speak directly with the Lord. And whenever the villagers comes to, hear the problem or to surrender, their problems to the Lord, he is the person who, could speak with the Lord. So this devotee could speak with the uh, Lord Varadaraja Perumal, and then he gives solution to the people. Whatever the Lord says, he will transfer as it is. So when he just working on that point, and then every day it is going on, and whenever he started his routine, one common man who is so attached by seeing this pure devotee, he touches his footprint and always put it in his forehead as a tilak. He was so happy that, not happy, so how, this particular devotee is good like that, he is also thinking, and then he started serving the Lord. One day he has got time to spend, while fanning the Lord, Varadaraj. Oh, my dear Lord, I have some curiosity. Shall I ask my question? Yes, proceed, Lord also said. Will I get a moksha? Then Lord replied, no. Then he got surprised. Lord, you are so merciful, you are allowing me to speak to you and, to discuss about the problems of all this, this entire, including me, the fallen souls. And now you are telling, I am not qualified for moksha. Then he could not, stop his anxiety there only. Then he started asking, oh my dear Lord, every day when I am coming to temple, there is one devotee, a common, person who is touching my, uh, mud of the foot, and he is putting on his forehead. What about this person? Will he get a moksha? Vardaraja Perumal says, yes, he will get moksha. Then real, then the realization is here. Lord says the mood of a devotee should be Adiyan Kadiyan. What is the first time from this? Through this devotee, Lord wants to tell to us. The devotee's mood, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Pranada peace Muchena, Sarora peace Aishwarya. So how one could be humble and meek only by reading Prabhupada books, only following the footsteps of our acharyas, like that. So Lord trying to explain here to this true devotee, so the moksha or the Lord's benediction will not be given just like that. So here the take-home message is, so the mood should be dasanu dasa. It does not mean that I am elevated devotee, I have arrived. Prabhupada many times said, right? Nobody can claim that I have attained the perfection in devotional service. Nobody could claim that I have arrived, right? So the mood of a devotee is very amazing here. So Lord also bringing out, that very nicely. So our mood should be adiyana kadiyan. That means, dasanu das. Without that mood, one cannot progress. Well, as here Prabhupada mentioned in this purport, from Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that it is indicated herein that cycle of birth and death cannot be stopped unless one is pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So how to become a pure devotee? This is the take-home message from this Kanchi Varadaraja Perumal, pastimes. So with this, connection, so we could get into the second verse topic. The second verse here it is mentioned, pushed down all of a sudden by the wind. That is also Lord's arrangement only. Suddenly push, by with the wind, the child comes out with great trouble. Which trouble, this, newborn or going to get birth undergoes, the suffering, head downward. So understand, how this physical body condition and filled with so much of blood and etc. All these things, and sometimes breathless and deprived of memory due to severe agony. It is all this pushing, the baby could not remember the previous birth, what I was earlier and before leaving the body. That this baby could not, or any jiva could not understand that, could not realize it. So here, excuse me. So on the purpose, Prabhupada, emphasized on this particular word from the third line of the verse, last word, you know, Krichrena. The Krichrena means with great difficulty. Yes, this how the birth is difficulty, we cannot find in any of the scriptures other than Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is there. And when the child comes out of the abdomen through the narrow passage, due to pressure there the breathing system completely stops. So this is another difficulty when this, many Matajis knows or doctors knows how difficult this process, and due to agony the child loses his memory. So that is the point here, previously what I am, etc. Sometimes the trouble is so severe that the child comes out of, out dead or almost dead. Possibility of, and one can imagine what the pangs of birth are like. So when one of the lecture, I heard that when this point is going on, one devotee started asking doubt. Then what about the cesarean and what about premature baby, rather suffering of 9 months, this that and that. So whatever it may be, whether it is cesarean operation, taking out the baby out or whatever, still the suffering is the point take home here. Still the suffering remains there, right? So the suffering, we cannot come out of this suffering, or we cannot be exceptional from this suffering without God's mercy. And then the child remains for 10 months in the horrible condition within the abdomen, and at the end of 10 months, he is forcibly pushed out. Right? This is the position of a birth. In birth, the point is, how difficult this birth is. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord points out the person who is serious about advancement in spiritual consciousness should always consider the four pangs of birth, death, disease, old age. In this connection, another pastimes, we can discuss about history. Alexander the Great. So Alexander the Great, at the age of 30 plus, nearby India, when he conquered almost 70 to 80% of this planet or this world, there was suffering, because of disease. So I'm connecting this disease and birth, all this four, how difficult it is. So then immediately Alexander the Great, called his warrior Mukhyamantri. He called his minister, said this instruction. He knows that he is in the verge of death, and then he gave these three instructions to his minister, saying that after my death, put all my wealth, this diamond, jewels, and everything into my burial ground, and then put my right hand out when you are putting me in the burial ground, and you assign the topmost four doctors should carry my body. Then this Mukhyamantri could not digest his boss or his king going to leave this planet, because he's also materially attached with that mood. Then he was crying and then he's pleading, "Oh, my dear, king, why these horrible conditions you are putting to me? Nothing will happen to you." Out of attraction towards his king, he started appealing to his king, but he said humbly, "No, so I want to say these three messages to this world. That is my realization." And he started explaining all this, and he asked, why the all the wealth should be put it into the burial ground. He said, "See, everything no use after my death. This all this wealth, whatever I accumulated, it is as equal to mud. No use for me after my departure." This message I wanted to give to the world. And the second condition is put my right hand out. Why this condition he has started asking. Then he said, "See, when I born with empty hand. When I am dying, I'll go with the empty hand." So this message I wanted to give to the people. And then the third condition, the greatest doctors should carry my body. So here he is coming to the next point. No doctors can save the old age and death. No doctors can save. That is for sure. And with this connection, how dangerous condition or horrible condition when we are taking a birth into this, you know, material world, it's a big, challenge, right? And then we have to understand how, mm, Sukadeva Goswami realized, and all other, Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj also, it is very important that how come Hiranyakashipu will get a son like, you know, pure devotee Prahlad Maharaj like that. There is a pastime, related to that also. So what is that pastime? So before their, parents, joining or procreation, uh, there is a pastime. He said to his wife, Hiranyakashipu said to his wife, I will go and meditate and I will take some moon and then I will come. Then he was in the mood to get into do tapasya for 100 years or 1000 years. He started doing tapasya. Nearby him there is one devotee who is chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the enigmatic or the demonic people could not get into this subject matter what we are speaking or get into the Harinama Sankirtan like that. And they got irritated and then he came back, Hiranyakashipu came back, home. And wife also started asking, what my dear husband, you said you will do, tapasya for 100 years and come back. You came, immediately what happened like this. Then he said, when I was doing tapasya, standing in one leg and raising my hand, nearby, some place, there is one person irritating me by saying, my enemy's name, like, chanting the, holy name of the, chanting the Vishnu's name, Lord's name, Krishna's name, like that. He started murmuring. And then afterwards, they both, joined together. Then the beautiful child has born, Hiranyakashipu's, son, Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. So, are we blessed like that to get into this, material world? It's a big question mark. So, without Lord's mercy, one cannot become a pure devotee. Yes, here the take-home message is we know that the cycle of birth and death is very dangerous and how difficult this birth is all about. Then we know how to stop it also. Here from the scriptures, from our acharyas, we are getting the formula how to come out of this birth and death, like Chokamela's pastimes we understood, right? These three conditions, how to be, always thinking of the Lord and chanting, and then always having the devotee association, always following the, Vaishnava qualities like that. So even though without Lord's mercy, one cannot come to that stage of understanding or practice of this kind of understanding. So this is the concluding message. So one should pray to the Lord's mercy to sanction this, to come out of this samsara or this jiva, the chain of what is it? This continual change of bodies in birth and death is called samsara. Oh, let me come out of this cycle of birth and death, whatever it may be. Here we are seeing the danger of the birth. What are the difficulties of the birth? The take-home message is let us all seek the mercy of the Lord to become a pure devotee, to exhibit some whatever the capacity one has to surrender to the Lord and to exhibit some purificatory process in this lifetime. So here I'd like to stop the purport of a discussion with 22nd and 23rd verses of third canto. Once again, thanks for the opportunity. So let me request, senior devotees, I could see the participants could share anything, add something to this. Welcome. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for the wonderful understanding that you gave us, and especially when you make it, even more interesting by giving the examples of wonderful devotees and various pastimes, especially the pastime of Pandharpur that you gave. I'm sure some of us would not have heard it. So thank you for bringing it. And again, the additional thing that you mentioned about Kantipuram, Vandaraja Swami Temple. So these are beautiful pastimes which we can relate, saying that how important the holy name is and how important the service to the Lord is. So thank you very much for enlightening us. Hare Krishna Prabhu. I don't have a question, but I thought I should thank you for giving us this wonderful enlightenment. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your sharing, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions? Hare Krishna, devotees? If there are no questions, Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Right.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Right.